2013 and 2014 were some of the most hype years to be a Power Rangers fan, with Saban buying back the band from Disney a few years earlier in 2010. With the return of the franchise in 2011 and 2012 of Power Rangers Samurai, we were on our way to the 20th anniversary of the show. So a lot of high hopes was made for these next set of anniversary episodes. With some of the past being stuff like Once a Ranger and Forever Red, the fans did have high expectations, with both of these specials having returning Rangers. But the fans would be excited to see them adapt one of the fan favorite Super Sentai series, Gokaiger, where their team transforms into previous Rangers. So if we had, the expectations of a good anniversary episode to be here, a whole season worth of anniversary moments would definitely be up there. So a decade later, why do people hate Power Rangers Megaforce? Yo, what's up everybody, it's Este here, welcome back to another video, and today we're going to answer this question, alright? We're going to find out why the people hate Power Rangers Megaforce and Super Megaforce once and for all. But it's not something I can just look up on the internet and find on a Wikipedia article. I need the opinion of the people, and that's you, the E-Squad, and also just other Power Ranger fans, but E-Squad, I appreciate responses too. So I went on Twitter, which is where I think the most general sense of Power Rangers fans live. It's also some of the most sane people. Literally, I just sat down and tweeted, why do people hate Power Rangers Megaforce? I didn't expect it to get a lot of love, but I got hella quote retweets as tens of comments from many different users, and even some starting their own thread as to how Power Rangers Megaforce and Super Megaforce is considered one of the worst Power Ranger seasons of all time, if not the worst. We're gonna get to those comments throughout this video, but I also went on Reddit. And I had made the same post a few days earlier, why do people hate Megaforce? And I would comment, and I'm generally curious, like, why do people hate the show, like, with a passion? It's a lot of passion. I had also went undercover, by the way, on Reddit, so they don't know I'm making a video. I made my username not Este. Alright, they're never gonna find out. I got over 30 comments on this Reddit post, and I do have to say, one of the main reasons that were said by most users on this post was the fact that they combined two different Super Sentai seasons. And this was an unfortunate aspect that most modern seasons of the Power Rangers don't really have to deal with. But the art of adapting two different Sentai into one hasn't been really seen since Mighty Morphin, when they had the Zoo Ranger suits, but then they had the Die Ranger Zords and villains, but then season 3 had Ninjor and the Kaku Ranger Zords. This series picked up two very different Sentai seasons, one of them being Tenso Sentai Goseiger, a show about angels and love and happiness, and a show called Kaizoku Sentai Gokaiger, a song about pirates and finding treasure. But instead of keeping the Megaforce suits and using the Gokaiger mecha as their second set of Zords, they would actually have their main suits, the Megaforce suits, and they would have an additional morpher to transform themselves into a super mega mode, the Gokaiger suits. They didn't do any of those old Mighty Morphin tactics, which actually helped the show, like, keeping the suits, just changing the Zords, just adding the 6th Ranger in there. No, they had to make this a lot more difficult for them to do. However, they did drop this addition though, because they would sometimes just transform straight into Super Mega from their civilian modes, just skipping Mega mode entirely. This Reddit post by King of Pink says it best. I honestly cannot get over the fact that they adapted the pirate-themed Sentai, where their costumes are reefer jackets and helmets are tricorns, their weapons are a cutlass and a blunderbuss, their mecha is a giant pirate ship that turns into a giant robot pirate, and their morphers open into a skull and crossbones, and never acknowledged it. Literally, they never acknowledged the fact that they looked like pirates in the show where they looked like pirates, and they use keys to unlock things. Also, look at this reply, that alien rangers have entered the chat. They look like ninjas. They didn't mention the fact that they were ninjas in the show. This fact alone left some inconsistencies, because Jake, he went from Megaforce Black to Super Megaforce Green. I didn't make a video about that though. And there was the fact that Robo Knight just straight up disappeared. A lot of posts mentioned this as well. Also, a lot of Megaforce elements just straight up weren't bought over, like the main villain Vrock, who disappeared, did return to Super Megaforce, but him and his connection with the villain Super Megaforce was that, oh, they're family, they're brothers. I guess so, they look kind of similar. Side characters also got kind of lost in the sauce. Some people mentioned this as well. Characters like Ernie and Mr. Bernie, they were just gone and just made as simple background characters. I have a challenge for everybody, alright? Leave one good thing about Megaforce and Super Megaforce in the comments down below. Leave a like to lock in your answer, 1,500 likes and I'll do more videos just like this one. There was also a lot of general inconsistencies in the Power Rangers universe. Another Reddit post mentioned this, specifically about Corinth, which was a domed city turned high-speed highway for cars. Big cars, actually. And also the Animarium wasn't quite how we saw it last in Power Rangers Wild Force as well. A lot of people in Twitter mentioned the overhype of the legendary battle, the main anniversary episode for this season as well, and also a reason why people just hate both of these seasons just for this episode. Literally, the first thing we see in the show is a dream from the Red Ranger Troy, who is having of the legendary battle, featuring Lightspeed, Wild Force, and multiple other Ranger teams fighting the Armada. A lot of people mentioned this as well. Troy's dreams didn't really add up to much. It was literally just hype for an episode that had like a 2-minute battle. He would continue having these dreams multiple times throughout the season, bringing up the notion that we would be seeing Legendary Rangers soon. And considering we had on-set photos leaked of the returning cast of Rangers like JDF and Space, Lightspeed Rescue, and Samurai, like there was a lot to be excited for. We're gonna have old Rangers from many different seasons interact with some new ones. But also considering the fact that the Legendary Battle episode was leaked in French a few months prior to its American release, when fans saw it, they knew just how disappointing it actually was. There also wasn't a lot of cameos from the Disney season in this set of the Legendary Battle. We did have Casey from Jungle Fury pop up, but Shadow Ray 22 here says that, you know, the main showrunner wasn't really feeling these Disney characters at all. A lot of these cameo invitations was sent to mostly the Saban era of the show. One of the most biggest notions that I got in my research was that people thought that this felt like an obligation and not like a celebration. Since series on Nickelodeon was now set to both years, instead of having Gokaiger be used for the 2015-2016 series like 3 years after the anniversary, they decided, hey, let's split it up and let's bring a little bit more earlier and just bring it into our current season. Just following a year after the main celebration, it was supposed to keep it going. You know, like we had Ranger Keys and the Legendary Battle returning cameos throughout the season, just 2, Samurai and Jungle Fury. People didn't like that. The Megaforce toy line already featured a grand number of action card game material with Legendary Rangers appearing on these cards, as well as having individual sounds in the Gosei Morpher. Super Megaforce, you know, they had their Ranger Keys, but they also had legendary action figures, which, you know, were just some old Power Rangers made in a new scale, basically, and that was just another way to keep the celebration going as well. But it didn't really help when these Rangers that would return as action figures and also Zords that were callbacks to previous Zords weren't really bought up much at all in Super Megaforce. Gosei would be like, Rangers, you just unlocked the Ninja Storm Zord. I don't know, because. Next up, we got some boring characters and a mid storyline. Power Rangers Megaforce was set up to be kind of like MMPR nostalgia bait. Archer9234, one of the oldest Power Rangers YouTubers. Ranger Review fans, anybody? That's the Nostalgia Critic theme, but I feel like it makes sense over their regular theme. They would use MMPR elements such as teleporting, but also drop it immediately. Also, Mega Mission, the first episode of Megaforce, was straight up a reconstruction of the Day of the Dumpster. And that brings up the fact that most of these characters in Megaforce just felt 2D. A lot of people mentioned that Gia didn't really have any focus episodes at all. Also, people just hated Troy, the Red Ranger. He was moody and very soft-spoken, didn't really act like a leader much. One moment I think of is the moment where he's like, Rangers never let go of their weapons.
I told you, a Ranger never lets go of his weapon. Next time, we just won't let go. That's all there is to it.
Like, what was that, bro? I looked it up, and he was kind of written to be the one that connected both the Morphing Grid and Robo Knight, but they kind of just scrapped that stuff off pretty early. I guess that kind of explains his dreams and the aura he gets from punching Robo Knight in Super Megaforce. Also, Jake did a complete turnaround in this season. Obviously, he went from black to green, but also that just goes to show that adapting 2 different Sentai seasons with 2 different sets of characters are gonna change your characters. Like, we're supposed to believe that Noah, the Blue Ranger, is now a swordsman. That doesn't make sense at all. But ultimately, Megaforce and Super Megaforce, it's just mid at the end of the day. It's just a mid show. Literally, it has the mid name too. Someone actually mentioned this here. Jimmy Necessary tweeted, try to come up with better names for both Megaforce and Super Megaforce. It's true. They should have just called it Ultra Force at this point. Orange Ranger Video says it best. Megaforce is average, a bit dry, a little boring, but far from the worst. And Super Megaforce would be an unbelievable waste of potential. Another mid factor of the show, Gosei, the mentor, who doesn't really add much or teach lessons. He also doesn't really give simple explanations for things. It's funny because he would mention Zordon once in the show, saying how Zordon gave Gosei this power to protect the world, where I feel like Gosei really isn't doing much here. Also, people like Linkara in their Megaforce videos mentions that they didn't even mention the morphing grid like once in the show. Orion was someone who was also introduced in the second half of Super Megaforce, kind of replacing Robo Knight as the 6th Ranger role, but after his initial arc of, becoming the Silver Ranger, not really much love was given to him after that. You know what's better than a Megaforce and a Super Megaforce? A Super Mega Ultra E-Squad Force. Subscribe and ring the notification bell so you don't miss out on any single one of my Power Ranger videos. And because I love the E-Squad so much, E-Squad comment of the day, I love you guys so much, put E-Squad in a funny comment and you'll be in the next video, I'm sure of it. And it all comes back around. It's a mid-show, they did a lot of problems, and it just became an average show that people don't really like, and it was all just hype funneling into one event that wasn't really worthwhile. But there are some people that like it though. You gotta understand that there are people that grew up with shows like Megaforce and Samurai and Downcharge and Ninja Steel and come to like these shows. And some Power Ranger fans even think the show is just okay, which is much better than saying it's the worst show ever. So that's something. I actually did a different quote retweet calling out the fans of Megaforce, and I only got, a handful of comments, basically saying that they can relate to characters such as Noah. Other people like Cosmic Ranger would mention that it would hit the MMPR nostalgia that they were looking for, saying that it never took themselves too seriously when it did because it was just camp. It's not without its flaws of feeling like filler, but at the end of the day, it was still fun, which I think is what most Power Ranger fans should do sometimes. Just kind of look for the fun of things. But then again, we gotta be critical, we can see all these Rangers up here in these mountains like, oh my god, this is so great, this is so fun, I love it. It's gonna go viral on Facebook everywhere, millions and millions and millions of views. But critically, this is the worst thing I could ever see right now. I don't want to see this. I want to see some people without their helmets actually interacting with Rangers, having a good time. Literally just Gokaiger. People wanted to see Gokaiger in Megaforce. A lot of people say this. J.R. Onskis says, I think it's because people got high expectations of it. Toku Chris also said it, because it isn't Gokaiger. Every single hardcore fan knew what Power Rangers Megaforce and Super Megaforce could have been because of Gokaiger, and the fact that it wasn't made fans feel cheated and betrayed. Aquarius would rebuttal here saying that I didn't see Gokaiger, but I saw Megaforce and Super Megaforce, and there was a blatant lack of effort or care. But honestly guys, I think it could be both. It wasn't Gokaiger, and also they didn't care. When you combine both, you have an actually mid-show that provides nothing for the Power Rangers universe. Marco Satsu also says it here too. Megaforce is too basic and bland. Aside from being compared to Gokaiger, Super Megaforce is also a bland anniversary season. And I'm gonna end it off with this comment by user @DDHeim, which says, well, I understand why people dislike the season, but hey, I say that it could have been worse. That, and people forget that the target area is kids. The actors worked with what they had, and people need to chill on their hatred for it and bashing the people who worked hard on it. That is true, actually. Like, the actor of Orion would come out to speak about the hatred that people had of the show and just saying he did the best with what he worked with. And they would try to redo some things and make light of these characters, like his appearance on Hyperforce. And they would try to explain some of the Super Sentai seasons, those new powers that were introduced also in the show, which was also a weird point. Like, they would actually film American footage for it. It was very weird. The show obviously used its high budget on this legendary battle and used all its hype towards it, while forgetting that, hey, we could just film some American footage to take out all these Super Sentai shows that we've seen that haven't been Power Ranger shows. Instead of, hey, let's have this team of Sentai and just put the Red Ranger in it for Mighty Morphin, call it a day. No, it's not how you do it. That's why people and fans specifically love events like Shattered Grid more. And just love the comics in general. You can do so much without having any actor to come back. At the end of the day, I think that Power Rangers Megaforce and Power Rangers Super Megaforce was never gonna be good. So the wasted potential and stories that the cast provided, as well as the elements from Gokaiger being shoved into our faces, this series was never meant to succeed. But what do you think? Let me know your thoughts on Megaforce and Super Megaforce in the comments down below. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, ddonfuego. I'm also on Instagram, not Donfuego. Have a good morning, evening, afternoon, wherever you're at. And of course, as always, stay awesome, everybody.